meetings. One day, a full lecture. I would want to talk about 6 important meetings that we attended with Comrade Dabengwa, which were his last appearances based on the work that we were doing. But one of the meetings that we engaged in was a conversation between ZAPU and the ANC and MK over the repatriation of ANC and MK cadres who fell in Zimbabwe. We have a lot of cadres under the banner of MK that fell in Zimbabwe, and up to today, they lie in Zimbabwe in unmarked and unrecognized graves. And we started a process of repatriating them. I hope, Comrade Chelly, you will be able to take up that responsibility and bring those comrades home, because they sacrificed their today so that you and I can have our today, which is their tomorrow. So there is a lot of work that we have been doing, and I trust and hope that we will be able to do that. We are ever grateful to the support, the solidarity that we get from MK and ANC. Now, in this card, we're going to talk about some of the battles that were fought in Rhodesia that were commanded by some of the luminaries in the ANC and MK, including Montlante, the former President Montlante. He commanded one of the battalions during the war. Comrade Jomo Dise, Chris Hani, there is a lot of them. Mavuso Msimanga. There is a history of the struggle of Zimbabwe cannot be told and completed without mentioning the role that was played by MK in Zimbabwe. And similarly, it cannot be completed without saying that the current government of Zimbabwe killed ANC cadres just after independence. It cannot be complete without us saying again that our own cadres, including the 20,000 that were killed during Kukurahundi, one of the reasons why they were killed was for cashing arms that were for the assistance of ANC and MK. Which is why when you start to doing us, we wonder how our comrades are the amnesia. Why have you forgotten the sacrifices that this revolutionary movement made for the independence of South Africa? So if you have a chance to tell the comrades, tell them that we are hoping for an engagement so that we can see the way forward and how we can salvage the situation before it goes haywire. Comrades, it's good for us to be here today to celebrate our decorated commander, the Intelligence Supremo, Comrade Dumiso Dabengwa. I had the privilege in the last 3 years of his life to spend almost every day with him. And you know that as people grow older and as their time of demise approaches, there is so much that they want to speak about. So the DT that Comrade Msongela doesn't know, Lami I also don't know. But I have issues that I know about him. So I would have loved to engage on that. But the primary thing that I want to say, comrades, it is good for us to remember our heroes. But in so doing, we must be cognizant of the simple fact that ZAPU was a national movement. I am longing for a day, one day, where I'll be invited for a commemoration of Josiah Chinaman. I am looking for a day where I'll be invited to commemoration of Ruth Nyamroa. I'll be happy to officiate commemoration of Den Matzimbamuto. I'll be happy to talk about Umarembo and Aristotle Chambati, because that is the ZAPU that we know. The notion of thinking that we can fight tribalism using reverse tribalism does not work. ZAPU likaya lomuntu wonke. We cannot do to the Shona what they do to us, which is why we are pushing for devolution. We are pushing for equality. We cannot complain that our history as a people is not being taught when we ourselves are not teaching the history of our fellow comrades. I hope Uzabale branch comrades here named after our comrades in the northern region, named after our first vice president, Uparenyatwa, and many other cadres that sacrificed their lives. But Adirayo, is ZAPU that we are in now must make sure that we are able to maneuver the murky political waters, because we have a choice, either to be regional and to be tribal, or to be true to the founding values of ZAPU. Uzetilo, comrades, is for Zimbabwe. If Mtoko is in Zimbabwe, we represent Mtoko. If Urungo is in Zimbabwe, let us not mince our words. But that does not mean that we are going to be foolish or stupid in the transaction of the dicey tribal politics of Zimbabwe. We are going to rise above ethnicity and build a nation. That is the ZAPU that Dabengwa stood for. The moment you see yourself pushing a tribal agenda, Ube was what you have invented your own ZAPU and not this one. Comrades, there's a lot of things that I wanted to touch on. Comrade Msolo has already spoken about the legacy of the liberation war being under threat. One of the reasons why it is under threat, it is because we have liberation movements that have failed to deliver, that have become incompetent, particularly Zimbabwe. We have a government that has failed to deliver anything for our people. We have a government that is specialized in corruption, experts in looting natural resources, and making shadowy concessions with other countries. Now we are being recolonized by the Chinese. If you study the Sino-Zim relations, you'll discover that if we do not remove ZANU-PF by 2023, 2028, 75% of all natural resources in Zimbabwe will belong to China. This is why the legacy of the liberation struggle has been lost. The other reason why we are losing the legacy of the liberation struggle is because of fake and pseudo-revolutionaries. ZANU has made it a mandate to call them heroes that are not heroes. Katesi bekubhaliswa abantu emakhaya to say if you fought in the war, uzahola imali and stuff like that. But ZANU went and said anyone who's over 55 years, you are now a hero, you are now a collaborator, you are now a veteran. And we have those people that are now speaking on behalf of the struggle. That's the reason why we have a threat to the legacy of the liberation struggle, is because there is a new leadership that is not founded on the principles of the liberation war. It's exactly what is happening here, even here in South Africa, where you have unionists and capitalists that never went to war. You have a government of exiles that now forget and as a result, for them to become heroes, they must erase heroes of the previous struggle. And the reason why some of us joined ZAPU, I want to say this, I had an option to join any other party. There is no person that is saying that needs a political formation in Zimbabwe that never called me directly or had a meeting with me directly to ask me to join their party, including Mnangagwa himself. But the reason why we chose ZAPU is because in ZAPU, that is where the institutional memory is founded. That is where the template of governance is. That is where our own heroes are. If we join any other thing, we will be a nation without a foundation. We will be a people without a history. We will be a generation that does not know where it is coming from. That is the reason why you are here. We are here to guard the legacy of ZAPU and Zipra jealousy. We are here to make sure that everything that our fathers stood for, we will stand for. We are here to make sure that everything that our fathers lost, even at gunpoint, we are going after everything. I have always reminded comrades that we are not our fathers. Where our fathers failed, we are not going to fail. Before Titi died, he said to me, we had a comment about many other things. One of the things that we spoke about was graves, as far as Heroes Eka is concerned. I said to him, what must we do about people that are buried in the Heroes Eka and they don't deserve to be there? And he said, what did you always ask you what do you want to say? And I said to him, I think what you must do, we have two options. Option one, we remove all the heroes. Kusala masela wodwa. Sibe the monument eZimbabwe yamasela. Option two, we remove everyone who doesn't deserve to be there, and we make sure that their estates pay back the money that was used to bury them. Didi laughed and said, do you know Mthulisi, in a new Zimbabwe, you are not going to have time to do repairs because you would have a country to fix. And I said to him, no, you are being too nice. Tina, that generation, that is not going to be nice. Where we must be petty, we will be petty. Which is why, as ZAPU, we are going to support the family of Joshua Nkomo in making sure that Joshua Nkomo is removed from the Heroes Eka and because I learn about This is the generation that we are. But the tide of ZAPU is changing, but the template of ZAPU does not change. The mistake that was made by a lot of us is that by being close to DD, we thought we would end the status of being like DD. We forget that we DD end being DD via waging a serious war, via days in the trenches. And Tina, we forget that for us to get to the stage of DD, we cannot get there by osmosis, because I was next to a hero. I am now a hero. I am not inspired by DT of the last days, I must say it. What DT that we celebrate here, I am not inspired. Because it's not my age mate. I cannot be inspired by an old man. But the DT that inspires me is the DT of Janda. The DT who mobilized other young people and they started resistance. The DT that inspires me is the DT of Shi. Muyu DT on inspire cool. Because the problem that we have is that we have become political philosophers at the expense of waging a serious fight of resisting this current governance. Cool and collected. Yes, the TT of the last days was cool and collected, but the calmness and the coolness that TT got, he got it after years of a protracted struggle that he waged. Allow us as young people to go through the same process that the TT of later life went through. The TT that inspires me is the TT who was visited by Sekeramai and Mnangagwa in prison and asked to join ZANU and blatantly refused. That is the TT that inspires me. The TT that inspires me is the TT that Nkabe said about as long as he's not here, there is no unity accord. Because he knew the kind of person he was. The TT that inspires me is that TT Oate Pumet Jelen was asked by Nkabe to give guarantees that he's not going to fight back. And he says, I have no guarantees to give anyone. That is the TT that inspires me. Out of character is because the DT of the last days is not the DT of 1961. For now, what is necessary and needed, because ZAPU is not in power, is the TT of 1961. That is in power. The devils are standing and I'm but for now I cannot afford to. Yes, I guess when our people are not free. Yes, I guess when our young people are not employed. Yes, I guess when old men are looting the country. They are looting everything, including Amankazana size. The country does not have a vice president because we I cannot afford to rest. I cannot afford to be calm and collected. The only thing that I can afford to be is to be the DT of yesterday.
Destroy them.
The Black Russian.
Destroy them.
What DT Hanana, what kind of youth are you? Who would you have never been called for a meeting? To us is only Kuza. As ZAPU, you are fortunate or unfortunate. Because you know STO Moshayo. Kona siza Mosha. We cannot afford to have our fathers fighting a second struggle. Abadala to fought for us. By winner is they were fighting for Zimbabwe.
Correct.
They won Zimbabwe.
We want it.
Who decided to bastardize their gains is none of our business.
Correct.
Abadala to value the struggle sabo, banova, babahlala phansi. If we are not happy, it is not for us to say, unkomo wathengisa maybe ngabe wenzani. Unkomo uthekule emhlupayo wasukuma, he fought against it. Dabengwa uthekule emhlupayo, he stood up and he fought against it. Tina will not be able to win this war by being philosophers. We will not win this war by having a debate and a scenario meeting and postulations that don't get to be translated to things that we can implement. A lot of our people are good at analysis. But the struggle where we are is not for analysts. It is not for political commentators. It is for people of action. Ask yourself, ever since you joined ZAPU, what have you done to make Zimbabwe better? After our TG left, in any case, he was a lightweight. Can't very heavyweight in party. I refuse to be lightweight. You cannot be a heavyweight by associating with heavyweights. I associate with a lot of heavyweights. But I also want to be heavyweight. And that can only be earned via a calculated strategy and program of action. But we cannot continue to have a ZAPU of paranoia. I'm not sure of the way we are going. The only thing that keeps them here is but somebody who was born in the year 2000, today, 22 years, they have nothing that connects them to the liberation struggle. There is nothing according to them that is beautiful about the liberation legacy. Because a normal country to them is a country where there is no freedom of expression, where there is no where you can learn and get educated and still not get a job, where it's normal to get educated to get mathematics. So when you go to them and speak to them about the liberation legacy, they don't understand. So the ZAPU that we are building must be a ZAPU that speaks to our current context. Let's refuse to be giants, standing on the shoulders and stories of our fathers when we ourselves have no story to tell.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
After being a Sunday, let me quote from the Bible. One time somebody was casting a demon. Wafika wathi ngiyakuxoxa wena ngegama lika Jesu chumayela ngipho. IBhayibheli likaNkulunkulu lithi somebody said the demon turned round. Lathi Jesus I know. Paul I know. Who are you? Who are you? Let me my message to you today is Dabengwa I know.
Como we know.
Como we know. Mangena I know. Lookout Masuwa I know. Parenyato I know. Matimba Muto I know. Zeta I know. Kanje wena ngwe bani. Ongati. Let me help you. One of our biggest mistakes as a people now is failure to utilize our being in the diaspora. Is Zimbabwe yakuvele Zambia? Is Zimbabwe yakuvele Mozambique, Tanzania, Angola, Algeria? Our people came here and we forgot that we still have a role to play. That is why we are voting. Very few of us here are registered to vote back home. Very few. Very few of us are participating in the processes of Zimbabwe. But what can we do? Number one, are you aware that if we get 100,000 people in the diaspora to contribute 100 rand once a year, you have 10 million rand for elections. 100,000 people giving you 10 rand once a year. How much have you given to the struggle? Zero. Number two, what can you do? Ngale Zimbabwe, you are our freedom of speech. We can't talk freely. Which is why I always remind people, I once spoke at a funeral. One time I met mass that you written, ZAPU must go. I spoke at the funeral of a comrade in Bayo. But in the diaspora here, we have all the freedoms that we want. Why are you not speaking out? Hame Paula platform. Facebook Nyamahara. Why are you not speaking out on Facebook? Why are you not telling the Zimbabwe story on Facebook? On Twitter? Why are you quiet? What is your contribution to the struggle? If you're not careful, you'll become a liability to the struggle. Because you're an analyst contributing nothing besides complaints and queries. South Africa is a province. What are you doing to make sure that the struggle in Zimbabwe becomes better? One of the mistakes that we make as a party is to become experts in internal politicking. And we become of no use and value to the broader vision of the struggle. Because we are busy branch chairman. But Zimbabwe, the struggle in Zimbabwe is bigger than being a branch chairman. We need to replace Comrade Msevele Gowen. If comrade, all I am saying, comrade, is that all our arsenal now is directed towards 2023. If you are doing anything, ask yourself, how does this make ZAPU better positioned for 2023? Your being here, how does it make ZAPU better for 2023? Every single day, make sure that you contribute to this. As I close, my incoherent, I hope it's brilliant. Is ZAPU that we are building, that we know under Comrade Nkomo and Comrade Dabengwa, is a ZAPU that builds an institution and not an individual. When I got into the life of Comrade Dabengwa, I said to him, President, you risk one thing. This party called ZAPU, this one, is going to ensure that your legacy is corroded. How I became unpopular for that. How? Now it is going to make sure that you will die as a losing opposition leader without a council seat in the parliament. Why? I said it is because this party does nothing besides leveraging on your legacy. Without Dabengwa, we do not have much value as a party. If you think I'm lying, audit the structures. If you think I'm lying, ask yourself, see we name. But we felt very good how President were to vice president. We liberate on an individual and miss the opportunity of building a party. Yeah. But ZAPU is an institution. ZAPU is a machine. Thank you. And we have another opportunity between now and next Congress to build a party. Thank you. ZAPU is for all of us. Let's build a party as a collective. Anyone who runs a fiefdom in this province or in any other province must be called out. We are building a party and not a personality cult. And if ever we're going to work with any other political party going forward, we're not going to work with political cults. We are going to work with political movements that are institutions. We're not going to partner with individuals. Thank you. That is the spirit of ZAPU that we know. Thank you. Asiyekele nini ukuthi kuthiwe kulabantu babantu epartini. Tell them. Iparty yethu sonke. We are protecting the legacy of ZAPU and Zipra. We are getting everything that we must get back. Number 3, we are defending the weak and the vulnerable. But it is simple. Which means that if you have power, you protect the vulnerable and you protect the weak. We are going to protect the weak in Tiato. We are going to protect the weak in Matebeleland, marginalized. Which is why we are preaching devolution. Abantu ngezigaba zabo abakhangela ama problems akhangelane labo khonapho. Thank you. Tell them. This is what ZAPU is standing for, and this is the ZAPU that we know as passed on from our predecessors. We are contesting for state power. It's a process. We must be honest with ourselves. Where are we now? For 2023, what would have changed? What are we contesting for? Are we ready to start having uncomfortable conversations as a party? What are our chances in 2023? Where we must contest for state power. Politics, comrades, is a science. It is not a feeling. And one of the things that destroys great movements is that we want to use emotions to make political decisions. But the ZAPU that we are in, as ably led by your comrade, President Michael Spangilizwe, I saw ZAPU my feelings. Correct. We are going to be scientific about all the decisions that we make. In 1964, the policy of 1964 zachinja. Unkoma kukhuluma kwabo context. Hayi kuzaphuka senze so hayi lalela ngayenzi so the struggle has changed. We stand on the verge of history. History yakhona is that we are going to ensure that by 2023 we have a vibrant movement that will not be ignored in Zimbabwe. Or we stand on the verge of history. Ukuthi yithi esasingo undertaker and we buried the movement yabobaba bethu. The choice, comrades, is ours. Thank you.
Viva ZAPU, viva! Viva Hanana, viva! Kokela Spangilizwe, kokela! Kokela Katenga, kokela! Kokela Hanana, kokela! Amanda! Viva ZAPU!